Hello, I am Paula Bennett and welcome to the last episode of Ask Me Anything for Season 8, 2025. Bring on 2026. One thing I've learnt in life is it's never too late to learn something new. So on this podcast, I talk to people from all walks of life to hear about how they got to where they are and get some advice and guidance on some of life's biggest questions. Now, I wanted to finish the season with us all getting to know the person behind his public role. You will know him for having strong views and not afraid to say exactly what he thinks, but can also have a bit of a laugh at himself. He's been an influential member of the coalition government and mid-year became our 21st Deputy Prime Minister. This is not a political podcast, so let's see if we can dig a bit deeper and get to know a different side to the Honourable David Seymour. Welcome.
Good morning. Nice to have me.
Yeah, it is nice to have you here. Yeah. How are you doing? Shall I quickfire you?
Can I do that again? It's nice of you to have me here. That came
That's all right. That's all right. Okay, shall I? I'm going to give you a couple of quick fires to warm you up. What's something most people don't know about you?
Far out at this point, there's not. If there is anything, it's because I've been trying to keep.
Yeah. You don't want them to know about it.
Oh, look. A lot of people don't know. I coached rugby for 7 seasons.
I didn't know that.
No, I loved volunteering. I did a couple of years of Lifeline. So, before politics, I tried to always do one volunteer thing each year.
Did you have the parents shouting at you from the sideline? Wah, ref! Oh no, you weren't refing your coach.
Oh hell no, okay. They were just glad that someone was effectively giving them free childcare for 2 practices and 1 game per week.
Yeah, that's true. That's very fair. Okay, if you could time travel, would you rather go to the past or the future?
I would say the future. But it's a difficult one because, in the future, Vladimir Putin may have blown us all up. On the other hand, I'm a positive person. Everything, so far, the world has been getting better. It's very hard to think of things that were really, I know people say, the 70s were great. No, they weren't.
No. You could be like, it could be like Terminator 2. You sort of land, you probably haven't watched Terminator 2, but it was quite my 80s thing.
Yeah.
And they went into the future and, of course, the robots had completely taken over and they were just living these
Skynet, that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
So look, on balance, I would take a punt, I reckon.
Okay.
I reckon the world will keep getting better.
Okay. All right. So we're going to, as I say, get to know you a bit better and then we're going to learn a bit more about you and then we might even try and have some advice for people. So I wanted to start off and say, can I call you David?
Yeah.
Well, no,
that's one of the better things people call me.
Yeah. But I ask because I think I should be upfront in that obviously you are the minister with responsibility for Pharmac and you very cleverly appointed me as the chair about 18 months ago. I'm not always successful, but I do try and call you minister in that role.
Yeah, no, well, don't do that. I don't like it when people do that normally. But, no, I was thinking about this because some people would say, gee, this is so terribly corrupt. And then I thought, well, there is a power relationship, but mostly that I'm very grateful for you filling the role and filling it really well. So we can put that to bed.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think I'm quite confident enough to hold my own against the Deputy Prime Minister. I think I can.
Well, it's just like another form of time travel, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a former self.
Well, I was the 18th.
Were you?
Yeah. I always
sounds like younger and more fun.
Well, I jokingly say to people, when I was the 18th, I think that Bill English was the 40th Prime Minister. And so I go, we chewed through a lot more Prime Ministers than we did deputies.
Well, maybe deputies have better staying power.
Yeah, they can sort of go through a few. All right, so I'll try not to make this career limiting for me then.
I don't think I'm the one limiting your career.
So I'm going to ask you lots of things because the podcast is called Ask Me Anything, which means I get to ask you anything. And I'm not too worried about that because I did think that if you don't want to answer anything, you just won't answer it.
I'll just reflect. I mean, we're trained.
Just do that. Okay, so you were born in Palmerston North.
Yeah.
How long were you there for?
18 months.
Oh, well, that's not long.
No, but my dad's family's from the Manawatu and my mum's family's from Northland, so we ended up migrating back up to mum's Tūranga Waiwai. So.
To Whangarei?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you went through schooling there?
Partly. So I went to Hora Hora Kindy.
Yeah.
Played for Hora Hora JB5, and then I went to Manu Primary. Got rejected from Pompelia College for not being Catholic.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. So they're probably grateful. Dodged a bullet there. By the time the euthanasia thing came along, they're like, yeah, see, we thank God. I mean,
God knew.
That was exactly what they'd say.
God knew not to put you in it.
Yeah, I was part of an educational experiment called Raumanga Middle School where they tried, there were 2 schools in the country that were Form 1 to Form 4, or I guess that's 7 to 10 in the modern currency. And anyway, the principal was such a winner. He managed to get the role from 180 to 80 in 1 year. So
wow.
So I was sort of part of the what they called white flight in the 90s. So a whole lot of people left that school. That got shut down, and went to Whangarei Intermediate. And then I went to boarding school at Auckland Grammar down in Auckland. And that was when I sort of became an Aucklander, really.
So what were you like as a kid? Sporty?
Oh no,
no.
Well, I did always something stick with you, but at Standard 3, I got a piece on my report that said hand-eye ball coordination needs work, and that's like one of the sort of kindest but also most accurate things.
So you weren't so were you nerdy?
Oh, definitely. I mean,
if we were in a bad movie, at school, what group would you be in?
Oh, probably like, making little bombs and devices out the back of the class. Yeah, I'd be one of those guys.
Yeah. Just so that you can get a picture of me, I played Rizzo, leader of the Pink Ladies, and that probably epitomised my schooling as well. I thought I was in the cool group.
I think you definitely had more fun than me.
So you've 2 brothers?
Yep.
So 2 brothers.
Mark and Xander.
Yep.
So,
and did they go through the same schooling?
Yep. They pretty much, apart from the school that got shut down, they couldn't go to that one, but otherwise the same, yeah.
And do they, I was going to say, do they talk about you much? Do they, because my brother got sick of it. My brother's got totally, they go, oh God, we go somewhere and all they want to do is talk about you and politics, and I just get sick of it.
Well, I've never heard that. So either they're being spared or they're sparing me.
Or not telling anyone.
Yeah, or probably gone undercover. Actually,
yeah. Has anyone changed their name or something that you?
Well, not that I know of, but
they might be undercover at at parties and things or something.
They probably are. Well, we all look quite different, so that probably helps.
Oh, okay, so that might help you. That's all right then. Unusual middle name. Breen.
Yeah.
Where did Breen come from?
My nana, so my dad's mother, was into some Irish singer called Mick Breen.
Oh.
And as a result, she decided to call her kids Breen. But his brothers have names like Royden and Lyndon. So clearly they were sort of the name rebels of fielding in the 1950s.
Did I met one of your nanas? I want to say to rest home in Whangarei.
Yeah, that would be right. In fact, I think she
came in.
In fact, she talked about you too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, she came and introduced herself to me. Yeah. I wasn't stalking.
No. You're being stalked. Yeah.
Yeah, I was being stalked.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's nice. Yeah,
she was quite fast. No.
Yeah. No, I've got a hazy memory because she has been gone since 2020, so it would have been pre-COVID. But I've got a memory of that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, she was lovely, absolutely lovely. Can we talk about, because you do have Māori ancestry, so where does that come from? And I suppose there's that interest in when you've taken an interest in it.
Yeah, so I have many strands to my background. About a quarter Scottish, mostly English, and some Maori. And the it all matters in different ways, but it also, you can choose how it matters to you. So, I love that I'm Scottish. I don't like the bagpipes, do like the Scotch, maybe thinking about the kilt. Very proud of the Scottish Enlightenment and, inventing economics and the steam engine, and there's lots of cool things about Scotland.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't mean that I have to wear a kilt and play bagpipes every day, right? And it's the same with Māori. There are aspects of the Māori culture that I think is really cool. There's others that I don't. And it's just who you are. And then as for the English part, that's kind of a catch-all.
Yeah, good on you. And so tell me, though, a bit more about the Māori ancestry and where you affiliate to. And was it part of your upbringing?
Yes and no. So Ngāti Rehia is our hapu from Tauwhara Marae up on the Waitangi River.
Yeah.
The whakataha is the waka, and so that's the basic pepeha. But it's important that I recognise that in any kind of debate about the treaty or whatever, I have a foot in both camps, if you like. But that doesn't mean that you have to think a certain way. And also, if you think about, what role it played in my upbringing. I mean, I grew up in the north, so I've got videos of myself, singing head, shoulders, knees and toes in te reo at my 5th birthday.
Wow.
So in many ways, I mean, when I hear people say that the school's upholding the treaty and doing karakia and learning the reo and all that, I mean, we did all that. And it was just kind of normal. And this was in the 1980s.
Yeah.
And now I kind of see people that, some of them never met a Maori, and they sort of have this great virtue of theirs. And it's just, I don't know. There's one thing I don't like is inauthenticity. Maori culture up north is quite normal. It's part of the way people operate. As I go further south down the country, I sometimes cringe a little bit at how people try to insert it, not because it's been part of their life or genuine, but because they feel that they will somehow be a better person for behaving that way. And that's, you can't become a better person just by what's on the outside.
Yeah. No, I get that and I understand it completely. Do you mind talking about your mother? Because you lost your mother to cancer quite young, really, eh?
Well, I mean, I was 23.
That's young.
That's my younger brother was just finishing high school, so we're all at different stages. But look, Mum was an enormous inspiration. She was one of the last people in New Zealand to have polio. In fact, she was born in April 1956. The Salk vaccine arrived in Auckland in September 1956. Now, you're supposed to get it about 6 months after you are born. Due to a stuff-up, she could have got it but didn't. And so she was right there.
Wow.
So when people talk about, vaccination, I mean, this was a time when people actually went out onto the runway at what was then called Mangere Airport to try and literally get it off the plane, because the whole society had seen the horror of polio. People in iron lungs, people crippled, couldn't walk. And so she lived with that, and it did a few things. I mean, one is that she benefited enormously from a really sophisticated healthcare system, a really sophisticated welfare state. So they actually, in the early 60s.
I was going to say, so that's early 60s, right?
Yeah, so she couldn't walk, but they did operations which basically connected her glutes to her femur because her thighs had been wasted away. And you imagine this in 1962 or around that time. World-leading surgeries were taking place in New Zealand, like really cutting-edge stuff that is hard to imagine they were doing that then. And the other aspect of it is, the ability that you can actually overcome things if you choose to. So I'm not saying everyone should just tie themselves up their bootstraps, but you imagine growing up in the 50s and 60s. Now if someone has a disability, you really bend over backwards to try and help them.
Sure.
My sense from the story she told me is that it was almost like you'd sort of let the side down a bit by being less able and by being a burden. And I know there'll be some people listening, you know nothing, it's still like that being disabled, sure, but I think things have improved. Back then it was tough. So she spent several years of her childhood in the Wilson home, which is still operating on the North Shore. The Duncan home, I'm not sure what's happened to that. That was in Whanganui. And so Papa, her dad, used to make these trips where he'd drive from Whangarei to Whanganui in one weekend and back, and then go back to work on Monday. So really,
and she was a child at this.
Yeah. I mean, all of her childhood, really.
Yeah.
And yet, she was so this was tough, separated from family, taken out of school, big operations, physiotherapy, teaching, being taught to walk, being a kid who she always had an unusual gait. She couldn't run. She hated sport. She hated the beach because those things were sort of closed off to her, and the rest of the country was obsessed with them. So heaps of challenges. But she was told that she'd never have children, that she'd never, drive, that she'd never, have a job or go to university. And long story short, 2 successful children plus 1 politician.
She did all right.
Yeah,
2 out of 3.
Yeah, she became the chief pharmacist at the Northland DHB, so she was one of a vanguard of women who were the first to make it to the front of their profession. However, I maintain the critics were at least half right about her driving, which she did. She got a license, but questionable. So a story about it's not what happens to you in life, it's how you deal with it, and you can actually choose. And that's quite inspiring to me.
Did you see that, and did you feel it, and did it influence you growing up?
I think as you get older, the thoughts become more concrete. So I think I knew this, but as you age, you sort of get to crystallize things into full sentences and really make it real.
We are a little self-centered in our teens, let's be fair. It's how everything circles around me, not necessarily. And then you do get to an age where you're looking a bit broader and going, wow, you do sit back at some stage and look at your parents and go, oh my God,
I saw a great thing the other day because you get to the stage where so I think about, when Mum was 40, I'm just past that age now, but I can remember when she was 40 because I was 13.
Yeah.
When I was 15, she was the age I am now. And I saw this great meme that said, you thought your parents were watching you grow up, but actually you were watching your parents grow up. Because I can remember the time used to.
No, I like it. I like it though, and it is interesting. Really, really interesting. And so her death. I mean, I heard she left you some guardians. Is that the best way to put it? Did she?
Yeah. Well, that is true. Again, one of those things that probably crystallised later. But her sister and her best friend, my godmother, they have actually been very good to all 3 of us boys. And it may not, again, teenagers and near teens, it may not have been entirely obvious to us at the time, but your thoughts crystallise over time, and that's a really sweet thing that they did.
Yeah.
And continue to do, actually.
Yeah, I like that. We all need them in our lives, don't we? So, yeah, I was talking to my mum the other day and I was having a bit of a bump and she said, what can I do? And I said, just be my mum. It's all I kind of need, Let's just keep going the way we are. So it's quite interesting, and I was listening to an interview that you did just after you'd become the Deputy Prime Minister, and in that you sort of said it's kind of cool that someone that's as quirky as me, can actually get to this kind of role. So is that how you would describe yourself?
Yeah.
And what does that mean? What does quirky mean?
Well, there's I think it was one of the Finn brothers or crowd did an album, which I just love the title, Time on Earth. It's all any of us have.
Yeah.
And, people spend so much time. It's a little bit like that thing I said about some people who, stumble through their pepeha without being able to pronounce anything and don't know why they're doing it. But, you don't have time to be someone else. You might as well be who you are. But of course, people are different. You'd expect that.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at how different people look. It would be crazy if their thoughts and feelings and personalities weren't just as different as you walk down the street where people different shapes and sizes, different hair, all sorts of differences.
But quirky is a certain word.
Yeah.
I quite like it, by the way. So I'm not, but you know what I mean? And I mean, I don't know you that well, but I've known you well enough over the years, and that you do have your own sort of personality type, don't you? And that, I think the engineer brain kicks in, do you think?
Yeah, but it's also just about being unafraid and not hiding your light under the bushel.
Did you think that we saw the magnitude of your quirkiness with Dancing with the Stars?
Yeah, that was a wild. It's hard. That was 7 years ago now.
I know.
It feels like it was yesterday. It's hard to believe that actually happened. It was. Again, it was unafraid. I mean, the risks were huge. It could have ended my political career, but felt like it was over at that point anyway. We just had Act's worst ever result. And, what I really discovered from that is that if you be yourself and back yourself, you might be surprised how big the constituency for quirkiness is. Because there are a lot of people out there, who feel that, actually, they can, well, how's it say? There's a million of us who dress like me, who rock like me. I mean, there's a slim shady lurking everywhere.
Yeah.
And, I think a lot of people relate to that basic idea. So we did well, I mean.
Do you think it's just that? Well, I also felt that, because as you say, ACT was in a particularly bad time. So you must think that Dancing with the Stars actually helped. And do you think as well that you were compelling viewing, let's be fair. There is something in us that quite likes to fight for the underdog, if
Absolutely.
you like. And they were so mean sometimes, those judges, in a nice-ish way, but they're doing their job, right?
Yeah.
They're doing what they do. And
all life's a stage. And that was particularly theatric.
But then it's like, no, you don't get to treat him like, you don't get to tell us that we should be voting him off, more or less, and so I reckon there's a bit of that Kiwi attitude came in.
Yeah, no, we are ultimately a very fair-minded people, but there's a kind of a Jekyll and Hyde, and your listeners that listen along. I mean, I heard something from one of your other interviewees, Heather Duplessis-Allen, who said, he's one of the worst people to interview because he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. And I thought about that. I'll give the same caveat that she gave. I like Heather.
Yeah.
But how could you not? But, here's the point. If you never want to be accused of, thinking you're too smart or thinking you're the smartest guy or thinking you're better, then there's an easy way to avoid those accusations. All you do is you stick to a really set of safe topics and safe opinions and never express anything outside the norm. No one will call you quirky. No one will say you're a smartass. No one will say you think you're better than us, anything like that. Then you're absolutely fine. But that makes for an incredibly dull. If you want to say, well, actually, I got a different idea, or here's something I've read recently that I think is actually interesting, and then there's always a risk people will say, mate, actually, I don't think that's interesting. I think you're a dick, and I think that actually it's a lot more boring, and you just think you're smarter than us. Like, you take that risk. But I think quirkiness is being prepared to take that risk, and I think it's worthwhile. The alternative is just a really grey existence. And so I write back at you, Heather. I mean, maybe I do think I'm the smartest guy in the room, but you know what? You have to take the risk of actually making life more interesting, or you have to be prepared to accept that accusation.
No, I really like it. And, ending this segment, and we'll take a quick break, but, people, of course, ask me a lot, what you're really like. And I always say he's on time, he's read all his papers, he's intellectually stimulating, he treats me with respect, and he gives a damn about Pharmac and New Zealanders. And I don't think we can ask for much more than that.
Hey, look, we'll box that up.
There you go. We're just going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come straight back to you. Okay, welcome back, everybody. As you know, I am lucky enough to be here with David Seymour. Okay, so how do you relax?
Me?
Yeah.
I am currently a tennis slave because Alex, I introduced my partner Alex to tennis a few months ago. Big mistake. She's now demanding tennis, twice a day.
Yeah.
And, so I love it though because, I quite like it too secretly, and don't tell her that. But it also means that, like how many things can you do that you exercise that are actually fun? So loving that at the moment.
What do you like about, are you competitive?
Well, I sort of, because I'm there's only one person in our entire tennis club that I can actually beat, which thankfully is Alex.
I was going to say,
because I'm pretty bad. Well, she's getting better at quite a rate. So, yeah, I'm preparing for the inevitable, but I think I can hold her off for a few more months.
So this is your fiancée, Alex. I mean, I've met her.
Yeah.
I think she could be quite sporty. I think she's going to take you.
I would say that it's a few months away.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's fair enough. So that's exciting. So when's the wedding?
The wedding is probably going to be next summer. We were aiming for this summer, but her business has gone so well. Really, I'm really proud to be with a clever and beautiful businesswoman. It's one of the things I admire in life and in people. But that's meant that she's been flat out hiring new people. It's all great. And I've had a pretty wild year myself. So in between all of that, we sort of got to a point in about sort of September, and we're like, probably realistically the point where we could give people a date was probably actually about 3 months ago. Yeah. So we're like, oh shit.
And then next year's going to be crazy with the election and everything.
But we could start earlier. So I got asked by Ricardo Simic at the gossip column, when's the wedding? And I said, look, we don't need to set a date urgently because we have all the time in the world together. I'm sticking with it.
It's lovely.
Hey, Ricardo liked it.
Oh, yeah. He's probably a bit more sensitive than me. So there you go. That's good. That's a good trait to have, by the way. So how did you meet?
We set up by friends.
Oh, really?
Friends. Yeah.
Oh, that's quite good.
Yeah, old-fashioned. Well, because I can't really go on dating apps.
I was going to say, Tinder.
Probably not a good idea.
I can never work out the left or right thing, but you couldn't swipe left.
Well, no. I think that might be the one that you need. So
probably, I don't know. To be fair, at all. So set up by friends, and then what? As you say, so what do you admire about her the most? I mean, you touched on her intelligence and that sort of stuff, which I like. Yeah,
she is first of all very bright, and often beats me at the NYT games, which is competitive, very competitive. She usually beats me at the NYT games, I should say, and the fact that she's a business-oriented person. She shares my basic value that you got your time on earth and you should make the most of it, and if you're not harming someone else, you should do whatever the hell you like, which is a different view from we're all in the tribe and the tribe speaks and you got to follow the leader, which is like, fuck off, it's our time on earth, we're not harming you, leave us alone.
Yeah.
So we share that basic value system, I think it's fair to say. And she's also a very good person. She's the kind of person that will volunteer and do girl guides, and actually as of this, this is happening tomorrow. She's, going to help out with Pet Refuge, which is a great charity. She's a sucker for any kind of animal. So she's a good person, like her values, entrepreneurial, smart, and sort of perfect woman as far as I'm concerned.
And not that into politics.
Well, no, because if you are a libertarian, then of course you think politics is naff. So that I'm obviously screwed up there. We talk about that, but no, she's on the right side of the ledger. So how do you discuss going to functions? And she can hold her own, obviously. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But a lot of partners kind of get a bit swallowed. It'd be different be different now, even that you're engaged. I know that I certainly have noticed it with Mark Mitchell and his partner Sarah are friends of mine, and it was interesting. I was at a function with them a little while ago, and her as his fiance, I could see that her whole credibility in the room had lifted, which is ridiculous, eh? I reckon I've probably had the opposite effect on Alex, but no, she's very, very much capable of. She's a much more sociable person than me, so I've probably had the opposite effect.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I used to make a deal with my husband that he got to choose whatever he did or did not want to go to, and that I got to choose two that he had to go to.
Yeah, well, I
needed him at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, our deal is probably a bit sort of purer than that. That she sometimes thinks that she wants to come to, but I don't feel that she has like a job as my politician partner. Like we should just not up for that, and that's actually how I think.
How long have you been in politics? Sorry, remind me.
Oh, well, I've been in Parliament 11 years.
Okay, yeah. So you're quite capable of rocking up to something without a partner and doing your own thing.
You know what? For a while, the voters were taking our message about the power of the individual a bit too literally.
Yeah.
You know? So I had a long winter alone. Yep.
So how do you protect your privacy? How do you protect those around you? How do you think about that kind of stuff? Or as you say, time on earth, let's just, I can put it this way. I can remember someone who hadn't been in Parliament that long. I'd been in for quite a while. I was being kind, how are you finding all that sort of thing? And she just turned around to me and said, well, I can't even go to the supermarket anymore. And I've got to be really honest with you. I thought in my head, I can't even remember your name. I know that sounds bitchy, but you know what I mean? I just had 100 new bloody emails.
I actually remember who that was. That when you told that story at the time, I got a pretty good idea.
And I was like, well, I just go to the supermarket.
Yeah. So,
no one cares.
Yeah, look, I think that there's definitely something that happens, and it happens really slowly. Your sort of anonymity gets taken away. I hated it at first, and I remember when I sort of lost my political virginity in a way I was driving along in my car, and what I'd been doing, I'd been going out door knocking every day, and I used to sort of symbolically get back in my car, take off my rosette, and say, right, I am now free. Mm-hmm. I'm back to being anonymous, David. And I did it this one day, and then I thought, fuck, yesterday I got my name and face all over my car. So no one's noticing the rosette, buddy. I'm there,
Yeah, so, your face is out
there. And eventually, I just sort of overcame the sort of nervousness about you're out in public, you can't be anonymous, you can't hide, anyone can come up to you at any time. And for a long time, I was under no illusion. Most people wouldn't really have a clue who I was or care, no less. But I knew that at any given time there might be someone in the shopping mall or in the room or whatever. And then over time, especially after things like Dancing with the Stars, it sort of became more people. Yeah. So now you just sort of roll with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I find there's times when I don't even notice it, and then there's other times. I'm a girl, so it's when I dress really brightly and I am walking through Henderson Mall and I wonder why everyone's staring at me, and then I think, because there's probably not a lot that are dressed like me.
You can really control it with dress too. You can stealth.
You really can.
More easily than you think. Yeah.
A lot easier, eh?
Yeah.
You're so right.
Yeah. If I wear my blue suit and pink tie, it's just like.
Yeah.
But if I dress down in an undisclosed format, you can stealth.
Yeah. Do you read social media?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I do sometimes, but I always before and after I do it put a discount that it's a tiny percentage of people that comment.
Yeah.
And if you were out trying to find out what people think, you wouldn't go and ask that tiny percentage.
Do you enjoy pissing people off? I've written here, and I've written because you seem to genuinely not care about the negative stuff, and then there is an element of you, I reckon, that quite likes that. I'm pissing people off. It's a little bit crude, isn't it? But you know what I mean. Actually, if you don't like it, that's your libertarianism. If you don't like it, that's your choice. This is my truth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, I've come to Parliament with probably a more crystallised. In fact, I remember I did an interview with Guy Espiner in my first month, and he said, it's rare to meet a politician with such a crystallised view or philosophy, and that's because I spent most of my 20s. I worked for after engineering. I worked for public policy think tanks. I wrote newspaper op-eds. I read all the great economists and philosophers. It was sort of like a second degree.
Yeah,
and so I've spent a lot more time, frankly, than most of the Parliament, thinking about, well, how do some countries get rich and how do things work and what should government do and what's government good at doing, what should it stop doing? And, I frankly I'm proud of that. And if people want to have a serious debate about the future of our country, then bring it on. But let's do it based on, a genuine attempt to understand the opposite point of view. I find you very seldom get that.
Yeah. And can someone change your mind?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there are things that I thought 10 years ago that I don't think now.
Yeah. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
An example?
Yeah. Oh, sure. Well, look, if you asked me 10 years ago, how do we make housing more affordable for the next generation? Because a whole lot of people say, look, there's no future for me in this place. You talk about a property owning democracy. Where the hell's my chance of ever getting on the ladder? It's not there. Bugger you. I would have said, well, it's pretty simple. Just remove all the zoning and just let people build up as high as, and then suddenly we'll be like Hong Kong and everyone will be able to afford a cheap place and everyone will be happy. After 11 years of being on the ground, talking to property developers, watching how different sites get developed and don't, of talking to people at Watercare about why they can't connect their pipes and all the rest, I would say it's a lot more complicated than that. And so I have quite a different view from what, I published a book in 2011 for when I worked for a think tank that made an argument that I wouldn't support now on that issue. So
no, I like it, and because if we're not growing, I mean,
exactly.
it's how I always introduce this podcast. We've got to learn, we've got to change, we've got to grow. That's absolutely okay. So, what are you doing for Christmas? What's the break?
No, I'm just trying to get to the 19th at this point. That's when the house is risen, and we'll figure it out. I'm really hoping to go to Argentina and meet the president over there, because I think Milei is fascinating. He's shaking up South American politics. He has been hugely successful in getting debt and inflation under control. And if he keeps succeeding, he's going to force a rethink of how most of South America works. So he's a fascinating guy, and I figure that why the hell would he want to meet me? But if I I don't generally care about being deputy prime minister, but this is the one time it might actually help. So yeah.
And will you take Alex and make a holiday of it as well?
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, the Malay thing is very secondary. The main thing is Alex likes to get up and in a way, go back to that anonymity thing. Here people know who I am, maybe don't care. There they don't know or care. That's the difference.
Yes, quite nice. And Christmas Day, will you cook? Are you a cook?
No, well, I am, but my KPI is just no fatalities. I mean, I've had a few issues with food safety and food quality recently. So, I think it'll be, whatever we do, it's going to be very laid back.
No, sounds good to me. Okay. Finally, for this segment, I'd love to know what's the best advice you've ever been given, and who was it given to you by?
It's not quite advice, but it sort of ended up being advice from my dad. I was watching with him the movie Traffic. And if you know the basic story, it's about the war on drugs. There's 2 cops in the States, 2 cops in Mexico. One gets killed in both countries. And it all goes really badly for a bunch of reasons. But there's one guy, one of the Mexican cops, at the end, it films him watching children play baseball with floodlights. He'd done a deal with the Americans to give information in return for funding the baseball field. And Dad says, see, he's the only one that got out all right because he didn't want anything for himself. And of course, I hadn't really, English was my worst subject, so I hadn't really analysed the film at all. I just thought it was cool, car chases and drug scenes. But it does, there's something about my dad that's very true. And I think it's something generally true that if you are there to try and make the world a better place and give, you might paradoxically get more back yourself than if you are constantly self-seeking.
Good advice. Okay, David, the podcast is called Ask Me Anything. I've done all the asking, and this is your chance, if you would like to ask me a question.
Yeah. Was Parliament worth it?
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And isn't it funny, you were just saying sometimes there's different things. I've just had a number of things that have happened in the last few weeks that have really brought back to me some of the small things that made a difference. Like I'm, home ground looking at the city mission, and I was just reading actually Simon Wilson's book on it, and it reminded me that I was the first one that funded Housing First and gave them the first grant of $18 million, and that then meant that they raised $75 million, by the way. Wow. So that bit of a,
Yep.
And they and I knew I'd done it, but you move, you get on with it because it's not about me, right? So I don't know. I look at some of those things. I still meet mums today that are, a lot older, and they will say, because of you, I went and got a job, and I didn't like you,
Right.
but I've got to admit, you changed my life,
Yeah.
And so, as you know, it's not, so I know that sounds that it's a lot about me, but it is exactly
it's worth it for you. So.
Yeah, well, as you say, it's at the end of it, I'd forgotten that I'd given so much back. I was burnt out, I was exhausted, I was bruised. And now I can look back and go, man, not many people get that. And I got to fundamentally make a difference, and I hope I used it more for good than bad.
Yeah, well, I think you did. But it's just interesting to see how you see it.
Yeah. And I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
So when people go, would you go back? I go, hell no.
Yeah.
Hell no. But I don't want to take away from the time that I had.
How cool.
Cool. All right. Okay. That's it for another episode of Ask Me Anything for 2025. David, thank you so much for coming in and spending some time with me today.
No problem.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too.
Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope you all have a really wonderful Christmas and summer break, or maybe you're listening to this in your January so you can look back and reminisce. Thank you for listening and supporting the podcast this year. Don't forget you can follow Ask Me Anything on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you check out some of our other fabulous guests while you're there. I'll be back next year. I'm Paula Bennett. Ask Me Anything. Goodbye.